So to begin this review, I'm going to basically come out and say that my history with Queensryche isn't that long. I've pretty much only just heard the previous album before this. So I haven't heard... I've kind of heard the album previous to that one also, but that was mostly just kind of skipping through songs here and there. As for with the original singer of theirs, I haven't really heard anything by the old Queensryche with the original singer. I haven't really heard anything about them. And when I actually even noticed the band, which made me listen to that one album that I have listened to, I didn't even know of Queensryche really. So I know now that they're a very old band, and they're actually pretty big. But definitely not on the likes of something like Megadeth or Metallica or Maiden, seeing that I struggle to hear them. But I thought I should just basically cover that I've only really heard that one album, and that is basically all I've really got. So obviously I liked that album. I thought the vocals were good. I thought the melody was great. There was some decent aggression, some good melodies. The singer could do some pretty amazing highs. The guitarist had some good leads here and there, as well as solos. So this is basically the next thing for me. So I've just heard the one album, and then now there's this single that came out today. I heard it before anyone else did, because there is a single cover, which I couldn't find anywhere, or even anything about the song, even a video. So it seems Spotify, I guess, probably leaked it a bit too early, because even their website and Facebook and Twitter didn't have anything about this song existing. So I've actually had longer than most, I guess, listening to this. But as you can see, this is going to be the album cover for the new album. It is a very sinister album cover compared to previous covers that they've kind of had. Kind of looks like death and everything, weighing the scales of fate or something, and then the verdict if maybe someone goes to heaven or hell. Maybe that's the type of thing that they're going for this album, the type of vibe and lyrical content. But we've only got the one song, which is what I'm reviewing today, which is called Man the Machine. The song's pretty short, just 3 minutes 51 seconds. Definitely one of their shorter ones. They can do longer. And straight off the bat, the band basically comes in. There's no introduction. This is not the first track off the album, at least from what I think, because I have seen the track listing. That has been released, so you can look that up yourselves if you want to. Yeah, it comes in. It's a kind of typical Queensryche kind of vibe. It's quite open. It's quite bright in tone with the guitars. It's definitely nothing mushy and beefy. It's definitely a kind of bright, open, clean sound. But they do have the heaviness to them. They can still carry that. So it just kind of starts off with the kind of typical kind of pace to it. And you got... a very slight lingering guitar tone, just a random pick, and then just have it ring out, just to give a bit of a lead kind of eeriness to it. And you get a solo pretty much off the bat before the singer even comes in. A very bright solo, again, very, very open in sound. It's nothing just bright and piercing, and it's just really open. It's quite warm, but it is a bright tone instead of one of them kind of deep open tones. It starts just with really awesome holds. It just has a great flow to it. As it progresses, he starts building in speed and everything, and then he just kind of either holds or slides it into the vocalist coming in. Vocalist is pretty much similar to what we've pretty much heard before, just a great high-end voice. It's definitely not deep at all, and things like that. It's just quite high. He does have certain peaks in the verse where he takes it to the next level of highness, where he just does one word kind of yell, scream if you will, obviously not screamo. Although now that I've said that, there is something here that is kind of screaming. It's not scream oh, it's more like a growl. If you listen closely in the verse. Now, I have heard this multiple times, but it's quite faint. But the fact that I've heard it multiple times in my hearing is fine. I'm guessing it is there, and that is basically just underneath the vocals. There is some kind of growl going along with it. Very deep, menacing, animal-like growl. And I don't know if you would really kind of say that's a screamo type of deal. It's very deep, very brooding kind of growl along under the main vocalist. As I said, it is quite in the background. It's nothing in the foreground. Queensryche are not turning into the screamo band. But I think they've kind of just put that in there just to kind of connect with the kind of modern era and just add maybe a bit of a new flavour to it without it being too daunting, but just give it that bit more. It works for me. I think it's completely fine in there. Again, you get the vocalist doing everything. He doesn't break out for that scream to be more apparent or anything. And then he does his real high notes, and then you get the very faint kind of growling in the kind of background, just giving it a bit more of a kind of deepness with the bright, just to kind of fatten that sound out. You don't really get a chorus. The verse kind of just stops for another solo, which is again back into the holds and then just leading back into speed, leading back into the verse, which kind of keeps carrying it on. Then we get the chorus, which is a pretty typical Queensryche chorus, especially from the last album. I don't know how typical the previous album was, because as I said, I haven't heard anything previous from that really. But it's very, very open. The vocalist holds his words and everything. It's very open. It's very nice, quite relaxing kind of pace. And then after that, we just get a bit of drums, and then a bit of the guitar, just dun 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 dun, and then drums just dun 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 type of thing. Obviously, leading into the actual solo. Now, the solo pretty much goes at the same pace as the other two kind of previous solos. Starts with a hold, maybe a bend here and there, and then leading into shreds, and then kind of just leading back out again. So kind of similar to the previous solos and everything. A little kind of short as well, because it's not short, because there's kind of a long emphasis on the holds, which don't drastically change it much back to the kind of lead that's been kind of done previously in the song. It doesn't kind of really stand out. It's obviously kind of been kind of heard before, so it doesn't. It seems short because there's nothing new to it, if you follow my drift. Now, obviously that's a little disappointing, but we've obviously had 3 solos, and because the pace kind of keeps going and nothing ever really kind of stops in pace. It's not a very quick pace, speed metal type of pace or anything, but it has the good kind of pace to it. It seems a bit heavier than their previous work. And then we've had 3 bright, really nice tone solos. The vocals with that bit of gnarliness to them, giving it that little kind of pinch of aggression, just a smidgen, just to give it a bit more levity, a bit more oomph, a bit more weight to it. And after solo, it just kind of goes back to the verse, and then it goes back into the chorus, and the song pretty much ends. So there's not much of the song. There's a lot of verse with only 2 choruses, which is typical of most. Well, usually it's around 3, so we just get 2 here, but they kind of use a lot of the verse. The verse sounds nice. There's obviously kind of new things going on. You get high notes, you get the typical kind of voice of his. And then you get the kind of growls in there, which is probably different. I don't believe Queensryche has ever done that before previously. I'm not sure if the fans would really be that bothered, because as I said, it is very slight. But I like it, and I like the amount of leads. I love the album cover too, but that's beside the point. The vocalist is very, very good, and at times it's quite reminiscent of Bruce Dickinson. Obviously, Bruce has way more of a range to him. His voice is a lot more versatile. So it's basically, when I say it sounds reminiscent to Bruce, it's when Bruce gets into that kind of zone of where the singer sits in where his range is, which is more of the kind of higher end, more kind of bright tone. You can still tell them both apart, but it's just them, obviously, it's 2 similar styles at times with each other and tones. But obviously their unique voices being the difference, and then Bruce obviously having way more of a range to him. But just saying he has just sorry about that. Just saying he has tiny aspect of what Bruce can do. Obviously goes to show he's an incredible singer, because Bruce is well known as maybe the greatest singer of metal. So just saying he just has one aspect is a big deal, really. And then the free solos, you get a lot for leads. And they're all very good. Kind of follows the same pattern of just starts with halls and then goes to shred, and that's pretty much how it all goes. But it's quite forgiving just because it's just kind of fun, because there is kind of so many here and then there and then over there too. So throughout the song of just 3 minutes 51, we have a solo at the beginning, solo kind of near the mid, and then a solo kind of near the end. So we're always getting a solo, it just kind of gives it a lot of fun, and then the song kind of just keeps going at that steady tempo of a pace and everything, but doesn't really slow down. And because the verse is always the kind of main focus instead of it being the chorus, you get more of that quicker pace, because it doesn't have to open up that sound for that chorus, besides just 2 times where it opens up. The majority of the song is kind of just going at that pretty decent tempo and everything. So I would say that Queensryche for this song, Man the Machine, is going slightly more heavy than maybe what they've previously done. Obviously I can't really say that because I don't know what they've previously done, but for me this is kind of heavier compared to the album that was previous to this one. It is heavier, there is a lot more focus on leads and everything. There is a slight more of an aggression to it, just slight. And with the album cover looking as menacing as it does, we may be getting a pretty a more aggressive side to Queensryche. So it's very interesting, and I am really looking forward to see if there is more of this kind of aggression and kind of fun kind of breeze with the songs, with all the kind of solos and everything being a bit more intense to go with more kind of metal. Because Queensryche can be, well, in the previous one, it was kind of metal, but it was also kind of melodic metal at the same time. At least that's what I got from the previous album. But rating this song, I would give it probably an 8.5. The tone's nice and everything. Getting 3 leads throughout the song just kind of keeps you engaged with that. They were kind of repetitive, which brings the score down. The vocalist, obviously he had his highs and he has his typical, then there was that bit of gnarliness in there. Don't know if that's actually him. If it is, then well done. So if that's the case, and that kind of heightens my score a little bit. Obviously he's not the most versatile, so I'm not going to take it that far. And the song doesn't go too far. Obviously there's 3 solos, a hell of a lot of riff, verse, and just 2 choruses, but there's nothing else. The riffs and verse always kind of maintain the same. I don't believe there was much of a difference. So could have used maybe a bit more to it. I know Queensryche can do longer songs with a lot more going on, but there's some niceness to it. It's a fun song and everything. I like the kind of new growl to it. I like the more kind of up in your face solos that is given out, and it's a very fun song. So 8.5. It's not a 9 because it's nothing huge and that much of a new, unique kind of thing, and it's definitely not a 10 by being unbelievably all over the place with things to listen to and things to hear and new elements and things. There's none of that. But the band are very, very tight, which is why it kind of goes to the 8.5. Great vocals, good guitar stuff, fun song and everything. So 8.5, but for a typical Queensryche fan, if this is pretty much just the sound of what they always do, I can understand why it would be lower. But from a newcomer, this is just new to me, so 8.5. So that'll be it. If they release another single, I will cover that. And when the album, if they don't and the album drops, I will obviously do an in-depth review of that album. So if you want to see that, then stick with me. And until then, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.